It's Vincent Keymer taking on Vidit Gujrathi at the Tata Steel Chess India Rapid 2024. Chief Arbiter Anantram R and arbiters shake hands with Vincent as it's his birthday today, 20th birthday, and he's taking on Vidit here. A shake of hands with his opponent, and off we go. Pawn to c4 by Vincent, and Vidit now responds back with knight to f6. Knight comes out to f3. And Vidit plays his pawn to e6. Vincent pushes his pawn to b3 now. He wants to put his bishop on the long diagonal d5. Bishop comes to b2. And now bishop d6 played. He goes g3. The second fianchetto taking place. And with it simply castles it out. It's a very standard steady opening. Bishop g2, and let's see how Vidit develops the rest of his army. He goes b6 with the idea of bishop b7 and knight d7. Pawn takes, he takes back, and now short castling. Vidit puts his bishop on b7. Most likely form of development is knight d7, c5, d4, and just continue that way. Knight comes out to c3, and he goes pawn to a6, stopping knight b5 ideas. Vincent goes e3. The knight can now go to e2, then the pawn can come up, and that's how you generally play. Knight to d7. He brings his rook to c1. You can see how quickly Vincent is playing. This seems like an opening that he's well versed with. And Vidit here puts his knight on c5, looking at the d3 square to fork the pieces. d3 played. And now the knight can drop back to e6. Yeah, that's a nice move there by Vidit. And now he's ready to push perhaps pawn to c5. Knight e2 played by Vincent. And Vidit pushes his pawn to c5 here. d4 played. A nice move. Really making black decide whether wants to take here and go into an isolated position or play with the hanging pawns after d takes c5. But first Vincent goes knight h4. I like this move. He's looking at the f5 square with pressure on d6 and g7 with this bishop looking on the long diagonal. Rook e8. Nice move by Vidit so that the bishop can drop back to f8. When the knight goes to f5, it takes. And now taking with the pawn would be bad because of take, queen takes, and d5 hangs. So that's the reason why he takes here on c5 with the bishop. Now if you take here and take on d5, then the rook could come in and pin here. So that's the reason why Vincent goes knight to f5. And Vidit jumps in the center with his knight. You can see that this point is very soft, but it's defended by the knight. Knight to f4, and now Vidit chops off the knight. Knight takes knight. And will Vincent take with the e pawn or with the g pawn is the question. He goes and takes with the g pawn. Now this pawn is hanging, so g6 is important, although this looks a bit scary. But king is pretty safe on f8. Instead, Vidit goes rook e6. Now this is risky play by Vidit. He's actually giving up the g7 pawn. If you take with the knight, there is rook g6, putting pressure here and on the knight. So Vincent rightly captures this with the bishop, and I like it a lot. That's a good move. Pawn comes up to d4, and it's a slightly surprising move. Yes, Vidit is opening up this bishop's diagonal and wants to go rook g6 and put a lot of pressure. But with the right calculation, this should not work. When Vincent rightly calls out Vidit's bluff, he says, I'm taking this pawn, Vidit. What are you doing? Now you are 2 pawns down. Vidit moves his rook to g6. So this bishop along with the rook putting a lot of pressure. But the knight can always jump back and block everything. Firstly, Vincent takes on c5. He takes the bishop, and Vidit now plays his knight to d2. Whew, look at this. This is hanging now. Wow. And Vincent quietly comes back. He's right now materially a piece down. So either he can take this bishop here, or he can take the rook on f1. He takes on g2. That's not a great idea, because now Vincent has an intermezzo, which is bishop e7, and if the queen moves, I take on c8. That's a free rook. And if you play rook c1, bishop d8, rook d1, rook d1, then in the end I am just couple of pawns up without any problem. So Vincent taking his time and finds bishop e7. Fantastic chess there by the German youngster there. And Vidit now is utterly lost, but he tries for something. He goes queen d2, just giving up his rook. Well, his idea is to just set up some kind of an attack. Maybe knight f3 works, maybe the bishop drops back threatening a mate. So all these possibilities is what Vidit is considering here. And now first Vincent says, let me capture the rook with a check, king g7. And now there's a beautiful move here for white. Let's see if Vincent finds it. Yes, queen sacrifice, queen takes d2. What a beautiful finish coming in. If Vidit takes the queen, it's mate in one. Will Vidit do that? Oh, he takes it. He's allowing a mate in one, a birthday gift for Vincent Keymer. Checkmate on the board in one move. What a beautiful finish. And Vincent Keymer, I think, takes back home a very nice checkmate in one. It's not common to see a checkmate after sacrificing a queen with a knight, bishop and a rook, and this will be a memorable one for Vincent, as we asked him after the game. Vincent, wish you a very happy birthday.
Thank you.
I think one of the things that made your birthday special was that checkmate that you executed against Vidit. Would you say so?
Yes, it was nice. In general, it was a very smooth game, kind of unexpected for it to go that well, I have to say. But yeah, of course, the game against Magnus was very tough. I think I was doing quite well for most of the time, but this endgame was really crazy with so many pawns for the knight, but I was quite badly coordinated and also the structure was pretty bad. So yeah, I managed to lose that, which wasn't great, but overall now the result is fine. Still it hurts that I gave away so many winning positions at the start of the tournament, but at least with 50% I think it's an acceptable result.
Whenever you play with Magnus, I think it brings the best out from you, no?
Maybe, yes, of course. I lost too many games against him already, so I'm always trying to put an end to that.
And do you think g6 was better than queen g6 in that position?
I have no idea, honestly. I think this will be something to check with a really good engine, and it's just incredibly complicated, especially with, 30 seconds on the clock. I think practically queen g6 was a very decent decision, just I wasted the tempo with rook d6, which I shouldn't have done, which kind of cost me.
And lastly, how are you going to celebrate your birthday right now?
Nothing special. I think we are planning on going for badminton, which I'm looking forward to, and then I will have a nice dinner at the hotel and prepare for the Blitz tomorrow.
Thank you.